Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. Today we are in the Maya working on an alien research station, which is a little after the fact, but I needed a few extra things from the season, so worth the wait, I think. Okay, so yeah, this is a Brotherhood of Steel kind of hidden research outpost studying the Zetans out in the Maya. And I'm really pleased with how this came out. It's a cool location, it looks really quite cool. Relatively simple as well, really, so quite a cool little result there. So, looking at the map, you can see where we are over here in the Maya. There's Haven Church, not too far away, the abandoned waste dump just down there. There's a kind of ridge line about here, where my camp's on the top of that. It's about as flat as it gets. There's Harper's Ferry and Berkeley Springs Station for you. Yeah, the spot's about as flat as it gets on this side of the Maya. It's a very lumpy part of the map, but it's a good little spot as long as you're not building anything too big, and it works well for this particular build. So, let's get the camp unit out of the way. I deliberately set this up to face south so that the sunlight hits the front of the camp, and well worth it. First things first, foundations, funnily enough. So we're going to try and get this position so it's at the top of the kind of rise in the ground here, and is just high enough to be above the level of the grass. There's one drawback to this location and the Maya in general, is the grass really doesn't like to bulldoze. Bits of it kind of do, but it often doesn't, so having it positioned there and starting off on that high point should mean the whole foundation is above the level of the grass and doesn't cause too much issue. So, in terms of the foundation, dead simple, it's a square. We're going to start off in the middle here with a 3x3 square that's going to form the central room, and then we will have a row of foundations going all the way around the outside form the rest of the camp, and that's going to make it a 5x5 when we're done. So there we go, got the last couple in. Let's see, 5x5 foundation with a 3x3 centre room. So, onto the walls. So we're going to use the Brotherhood of Steel concrete set that came in a previous season for this one. Really like it for kind of military style builds, that sort of thing. We could do with some doors that match up to it, but we'll make do with laser grids later on, it works quite well. So first things first, we'll just get this walled off. My initial thought was to have a door in the middle of every side, but due to various things I tried out not working out at all, we're basically going to have it in the front and the two sides will have doors, but the back will be a window instead. So we'll change that later on, though. For now, that's the walls of the centre room in. So the big set piece of this is the glass dome that's going to go on the top in a minute. But I want a glass roof to go underneath that, so that's what we're doing here with the flat roofs. Obviously, this set is unfortunately still not available, so those who have missed out, I'm afraid, are not going to be able to manage that one. However, there has been a new greenhouse set, data mined, which is looking really, really cool. It's not quite as plain as this one, so maybe not ideal for this sort of build, but it's one to keep your eyes out for on the next season over the summer, as it looks really, really cool, and I definitely want to get my hands on that one, so I think the next season is going to be well worth it. But moving on to the outer walls, obviously we're going with half-height walls here. Sort of doing odd walls here and there at the moment, because I'm still trying to work out what texture I want where. Obviously by the time I got to the decoration phase I figured that out. But the plan was, in the end, was to have the metal pieces in the middle and the corners be the concrete textures. I think that looked really good. As I say, you'll see it in the tour, but hadn't quite got that figured out here. Nonetheless, they'll hold the roofs up, and that'll do for the moment. Speaking of, let's get some roofs on here. So, matching roofs here, we can use the slanted set, obviously, and then the corner pieces as well. Nice and easy, with a gap here at the front for where we're going to build the entrance. There's a gap at the back for the moment, because we'll need access to the roof as well. So, glass dome. This greenhouse dome, I've heard sometimes when you buy it these days, it doesn't turn up without the base. The baseless version was actually added later by Bethesda, so sometimes when you buy the set, it doesn't pop up with it. But if that's the case for you, then I would recommend hitting the support pages on Bethesda.net and asking them if they can help you out with it, because I would imagine they'd be able to. As I say, it was something they initially added later anyway. But we've got that carefully positioned in the middle. Need a little bit of adjustment there. Basically, I'm going to have the kind of points either side of the door against the edge of the metal piece here. Sort of the metal frame of the roof it's sat on. Which should mean it's nice and centered. It's actually technically a tiny little bit further back than it should be, but if it means the door works a little better, that's definitely a win. So, messed around with this for ages trying to figure out how to get a staircase up there, tried loads of stuff, and none of it worked the way I wanted it to. So, in the end, I went with just the dead simple option, and it kind of looks better for it, I think. So, just a staircase going straight up to that doorway. So we've got a roof at the top, so it connects fine. A foundation underneath. There we go. We'll head round the back. And we'll get some foundations out here so we've got access. So just going to go with 3 across the back. This is also where my power armor station is going to go. And we'll close off these walls as well. Unfortunately, no doors that will fit on the end there, but that works out fine anyway. If you wanted a door under the staircase, you absolutely could do that. I, in the end, didn't because, well, as it turned out, it was really good for the decoration anyway, not having a door there. And coming out under the stairs and sort of having to duck under them didn't feel very suited to the build. Just want to double check that we can actually put a door on this greenhouse, just in case. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky with being at the top of stairs, so... Works out okay from here, though. So we'll get these last 2 foundations on. We'll stick some stairs on it. Now, I've put the stairs on this end specifically because, as you'll see in just a second, there are trees and stuff in the way on this side that don't bulldoze, and to be honest, I wouldn't want them to anyway. But it does mean pathing around that side is minorly annoying, so I put the stairs on the side that was easy to path around, basically. So, the last thing we need to do on this build to complete the structure is get the entrance sorted. So, a nice greenhouse roof on the top there. We'll get a foundation out front to make the entrance a little bit more interesting. And we're going to continue with the greenhouse pieces again. A couple of half walls on the side. Now we need some triangles. A couple of inverted ones there to meet the roofs, which worked a lot better than it did last week. And we'll get a couple of the normal ones on the sides here, just to follow that line down. Nice. Looking good. Nice little research station style entrance, I think. Kind of gives that vibe to me anyway. And it continues the line with the dome as well, which is quite cool. Nice kind of leading line up to it. So a couple of foundations here so I can dress it up a little bit more. And I'll change the staircase over as well. And on that note, we're about done with the structure. So I will head off, decorate, and let's take a look at the tour. So there we go. Decoration making all the difference. I am so happy with how this came out. I absolutely love this little camp. Really quite simple in a lot of ways, but really, really works, I think, as well. The lighting goes really well with it, too. So we've got a couple of fences on the side there. These are the communist set that come with the matching dome, the concrete dome prefab. I don't use them very often, but I wanted them for the barbed wire on the top for this particular build, and to mix things up a bit. A couple of guard posts out there with some mannequins on them. From my headcanon, I'm guessing that they are actually mannequins that are intended to scare off any wandering wastelanders, and the turrets on the roof will deal with anything more hostile, because we don't have enough beds inside for the guards as well as having researchers and stuff. It's only a small build after all. So this is of course a player camp, so we need it to function as one. So on the right here we've got a little vending area. Just tuck the Blue Ridge flags in and stuff like that so people can see what's going on nice and easily. Put the punch card machine there as well, mostly for convenience while I was building, but I ended up leaving it there because I figure any players who drop by might find it useful. This is a Brotherhood of Steel themed outpost, so I went with the Brotherhood of Steel Collectron in there. He's still collecting Manuka Cola, but he fits in with the build a little better. Normally I put him outside, but we had some space in there, so I thought that would be a good spot. I'll head through the laser gate, which, as I said before, nothing really quite fits with these doorways unless you glitch doors in, which you can do, but the laser gates kind of work with the theme of the camp. And there we go. Quite the first impression, I think. I really like the look of this place. So the major reason for the delay, obviously Invaders is done as this goes live, is firstly I needed to pick up as many of the plans from Invaders From Beyond as possible. Secondly, the current season has a few really cool bits that go in this build quite well, namely that chemistry station in the corner, which is awesome by the way, and the black consoles there that I've used. Obviously, I didn't actually pick up the consoles from the Atomic Shop back in the day, but these black reskins come from the season, and they're really, really nice, work well for this build, so I wanted to pick those up as well before I did the build. Nice little view up to the top there, looks really quite cool. Get some pieces of alien stuff around, and some medical stuff as well to go with the build vibe too. So heading through to the first of the side rooms, this is our generator room and crafting space. Generator's connector at the top there kind of clips through the roof, and I had to adjust it a little bit so that I could wire it up, but it did mean that I could just run wires around the bottom of the dome outside and out of sight. So really neat and tidy there, really happy with how that came out. Got a couple of bits of wallpaper on there. It's just the steel wallpapers. They look really quite cool. I think they're cold steel, I think they're called. There's a few options available that would work well here, but it keeps that kind of military vibe going on and contrasts a little bit with the concrete on the inside. Obviously, that's the outside of the walls, so it can't be wallpapered unless I doubled it up, but we're really close to the build budget here, so glad I didn't try and do that. Would have messed with the roofs as well. Unfortunately, the drawback to putting posters on the outside of a wall is the collision box tends to be a little larger, so they float a bit. As long as you don't look too carefully, it's alright, but minor annoyance to me. So I'll give myself a zap as I head through the door there. We'll have a little look at the back here. If you want to put railings around these tubes, I would recommend put the railings in first and then the tubes afterward, because the collision works a lot better that way. So heading on into the other side room, this is kind of a living space. It's a bit Spartan, but it's a military outpost after all, so that kind of makes sense. Didn't really have the right cooking station for this. I didn't want to use the same ones I've been using in recent builds a lot, and I don't know, there's nothing there that's got a particularly military vibe. I'm not sure how you would do that anyway, but still. I used one that I like. So the sleeping area, again, fairly Spartan because it's military, and I went with the hospital beds because that kind of fits the vibe of the camp quite well as well. Only a small bit of space here, but there's enough room to path around it. A little militaristic-looking dining area, apart from maybe the candles, but hey. The occasional weird home comfort for the scientists. Typically, I managed to forget to put anything on display there, as I usually do. I put the jarred, scorched pieces in there, the heads and the hands. But unfortunately, I had to do it after the fact, because, as per, I completely forgot about it. But yeah, despite all of my forgetfulness, really happy with how the decoration came out on this. Happy I managed to cram everything in as well. Wiring up that decon arch, by the way, I just used a couple of the conduit pieces on the roof, because there's a downward-facing conduit piece that will clip through just nicely, so you can power it quite nicely that way. Keeps the wires out of the way. And the cage door just adds a little bit more security to the front of the camp as well. Looking cool. So, let's swing around the outside, have a look at how I've done the walls, and have a look inside this dome, shall we? So I've got a couple of turrets on the top, which I don't normally do, but this place does get attacked by Scorch, so they are handy to have. You can see there what I've done with the walls. Got the metal pieces in the middle, 3 metal pieces in the middle, and then the concrete ones on the corners. And it looks tidy, it looks good, it looks very militaristic, and I'm happy with that vibe. But I had to chop and change a few times to get there. So these barricades on the foundations there are actually from the currently running, as this video goes live, Hunt for the Treasure Hunter event. So well worth picking those up if you get the chance. They are very, very cool. I tried a few different things there, and those look a little different, and they suited the build quite well. Power armor station if you need for Brotherhood of Steel, and also for my own convenience as well. Let's head up and have a look in this glass dome. That door is actually the one that comes with this dome, which is cool. There we go. The asteroid from Invaders From Beyond is a nice little centerpiece there. A few workbenches as well up here. Lots of bits of decoration. Thought about putting that asteroid on a table or something to make it look like they were researching that too, but dressing that up properly would have been a bit of an issue, and there's only so much space in here as well. So I guess they've just stashed it up here, along with the plants that perhaps they were studying before they switched to the aliens or something like that. But it does look rather cool, rather moody, and creates a nice set piece on the top of the build as well, which I really like the look of. So yeah, really happy with how this camp came together. It looks really cool. Very much likely to stay here for quite a while. I do like this build a lot. It's a little off the beaten path, so the travelling is a bit awkward, but definitely worth it, I think. So, I hope you guys did like this one as well. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very, very much appreciate it. It really helps out. Down below the video you can find social media links, merch store, and channel memberships as well. If you are interested in supporting the channel that way, I really, really appreciate it. It really helps out. Massive thank you to everyone who's done that already. And if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, we are of course playing Fallout 76, and we're about to start Ghostwire Tokyo as well. So looking forward to that one. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.